I'm going to be doing a bit of live stuff here, and I might kind of taking my life into my own hands, I suppose. Eric warned me about this beforehand, but I've got a bit of stuff that's running on the laptop too, so hopefully. I can introduce myself. My name is Summers. I work at the Library of Congress as a software developer, and this talk really has nothing to do with what I do at the Library of Congress, so the talk is about the Atom publishing protocol, and yeah, I'll explain what that is, hopefully. Basically, I'm sad that Karen left because I was looking around for a Duran Duran t-shirt. I mean, you know, I could work in a garage and put on the Duran Duran t-shirt. This is going to be a kind of talk that's, you know, it's probably not, I feel a bit nervous because, you know, everybody that came before is, you know, was such a, you know, very interesting, you know, discussion, and I feel like this is so low level that it might be boring, but, so this is, I don't really like Duran Duran that much. I mean, Rio's okay. This is just what a primer is. I'm sure everybody here knows that, but these library people. But basically, I just want to, not that everybody's children here, because you're not, but this is just kind of intro to what the Atom Publishing Protocol is and why you might be interested in it. So, can you see that in the back, or is that? Let me make this widen it out a little bit. I kind of wanted to invoke Karen again. She said that people don't care about standards, and I think that, you know, there's a lot of standards propagation within the library community. You know, the Library of Congress does quite a bit of it, and I feel like there's also a tendency to not look outside of our little, you know, our niche world and at larger standards. So this text up here is an XML document for what an Atom feed is, and probably when most people think about Atom, they think about a syndication format, right, like RSS, or and really that's what that's part of what the Atom Publishing Protocol is. So I'm not going to get into Atom versus RSS because it gets boring, but essentially, you know, RSS, Dave Weiner kind of controls it now, and Atom, a group of people have written you know, an RFC for syndication. And it's kind of unique. So just to look at this XML document a little bit, you can see you've got a feed kind of outer element that is the feed, you know, it's like a feed for information. And inside there you can have multiple, well, you've got a title for the feed and an ID, which is, in this case, a URL, and a timestamp for when it was last updated. And inside there you've got an entry, and you can have multiple entries within there. And in this case, this is a posting Roy did to the Code4Lib list about, or to the blog about you know, the venue for next year, and yeah, so that's Atom. It's not really, I imagine this is familiar territory for everybody. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about REST, and this guy, you know, who helped design HTTP, Roy Fielding, with Tim Berners-Lee, he, you know, they designed HTTP, and then the web took off and things scaled, and they were like, wow, you know, that's, I'm pretty sure that he wrote his dissertation after, you know, the web had kind of peaked, and they looked, and his dissertation is basically about, you know, what made this work? Like, how the hell did that happen? And you know, he basically came up with a few, you know, very concise ideas of why, you know, it worked, and basically, I'm summarizing them here. I'm not going to get really into them, but you know, the system is made up of resources that have state, right, and code, and those are like your website, right, like a page on your website. That's a resource, and resources are addressable with a URL. So URIs are. It's kind of it's funny. It's an architecture. It's not. He wrote about it as like kind of as an architecture, and HTTP and the web is an example of that architecture. So you got identifiers, and then you've got a uniform interface for talking to those resources and getting them and modifying them, and that's HTTP. I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. If people have used, how much time do I have? I'm like till.
Got to about 10 till. 10 till.
Okay, so I don't know if people have used live HTTP headers before, but basically you can watch kind of like while you're browsing the web. There's all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Your browser's talking to the web server and doing these kind of request call response kind of things. And yeah, I mean, there's a Firefox plugin that basically shows you what's going on. And I didn't want to do that. Dan showed last night. I could put it in like a sidebar.
Command tab.
Command no.
Shift tab.
I had trouble with it last night.
Something else.
Where's the sidebar?
There it is.
Here. So what I'll do is I'm just going to get a text file here because it should be simple, right? But like when you get a fully functional web page, there's all these images and stuff, so it generates a lot of stuff. But basically, I don't know. Can you see that? Probably not, but let's see if I can do that. I don't know if that helps at all, but. Right here you see this get, and so a get is one of these HTTP methods, and it's basically getting a resource at that website. That's really all I wanted to show. Get, and there's another one called post, right, that you're familiar with. So the browsers do get and post all the time. So like when you're doing you've got a form and you post some data, it does a post behind the scenes. So Atom Publishing Protocol is just taking those two things and putting them together. So you've got REST for, I didn't cover all so REST, it kind of has these other two methods. So, Tim Berners-Lee, when he was thinking about the web early on, it was a writable medium too, so you could write, to the web as well as get stuff back. You hear this called like read-write the web sometimes. So the writing part is two other methods that are, well actually no, post is writing, and so you got get, post, and then put and delete. And put is an update, and delete is deleting. So there's four methods, and so if you take this Atom syntax for the feeds and the entries, and you combine it with REST, what you get is this protocol for sending little chunks of data over the internet. So yeah, it's a standard, right? So it's not like it hasn't been authorized yet, but I mean it's still in draft. It's like draft 13 or something. It's been going on for a couple of years or more, maybe. And it's a very open process, so it's actually a really readable document, I found. Jonathan on the discussion list is like, I can't read that thing. But it's actually pretty good, and it's kind of a nice gateway into other standards. So like URIs and IRIs, and XML media types and stuff like that. It's a real nice gateway into a lot of different standards, and there's like Tim, who's on there? Tim Bray, is it, or the Sun guy? Who's on there? Joe Gregorio, Sam Ruby, who had a lot to do with WebDAV and stuff like that. So there's a lot of these luminaries on there, and you can kind of see them all talking and discussing things in a very open way. It's very educational. So the thing about the Atom publishing protocol is there's these things called services, and workspaces and collections and resources. And sounds like a lot right now. Basically, a service is just, I'll show it to you in the next slide, but it's basically, your Atom Publishing Protocol server has a little XML file that describes the service that it offers. And each service is made up of one or many workspaces, and each workspace is made up of one or many collections, and each collection is made up of one or many resources. And there are these, I'm not getting into it at the end, but you can have media entries as well as regular Atom entries. So it's not really just for sending, this is something I learned as I was delving into it, it's not just for sending Atom data, but you can send like zip files or PNGs or whatever, different kinds of XML, whatnot. So this is a service document. It's just really, it's an XML file that would sit, static on your server or dynamic or whatever. And really it defines this. So in this example, I've kind of mocked up Dan's website. And so you've got a workspace. And within that workspace, there are two collections of resources in there. And one is for stories, and the other one is for images. And so you could post, see the URL, onebiglibrary.net/story. That's a target where you could post data to. And then the one below it, the onebiglibrary.net pics, is another URL that you could post data to. And you see the second one has this accept tag, and that's saying this collection here only wants things with this MIME type. So in that case, you can only post things that were MIME type of image, some kind of image. So when you create something, this is kind of getting, I just copy and pasted this out of the RFC, but it's basically, so you got create, when you want to create a resource, you post to one of those URLs, and then what you get back is a 201 response saying, yeah, the resource was created, and the location header, which says this is where it's going to, this is where it lives. It's basically just a URL. So you post some data, and you get back basically a redirect, saying this is where it lives. And then when you want to read it, you just get the URL, right? And you can do some funny stuff with accept headers to change the representation that comes back. And when you do a put to that URL, you have data. So it's kind of like a post, but instead of creating a new resource, it replaces the resource with the data that you posted. And the delete, you just delete the URL, and it's gone. So, this is an example of someone who's using Atom. There's actually quite a few implementations out there, but one of the big ones is Google Data, and that underlies a whole bunch of services that Google provides. And actually, I don't know if there's time, but if people have questions, I meant to mention it in the beginning, just shout them out. Because I'm going to get into some, basically some, I'm going to show you the ultimate web programming framework, Perl. So everybody has these arguments about what the best web programming framework is. And I decided to punt and just show you some command line stuff. So if I go into this GData folder, and at the end I'll give a URL for getting all this stuff, but basically Google Data has their own protocol. They implement the Atom Publishing Protocol. So you can, the thing about it is they have their own authentication layer so that not anybody can just update, delete, anybody's documents. So Atom is very, it kind of punts. It says, whatever is available to HTTP for authentication, you can use that, but it doesn't mandate that you use any particular authentication or any at all. So what I've got here is just a little script that, a bunch of little scripts. But the first one I was going to show you, Authenticate, all it does is, actually this isn't really Atom Publishing Protocol. This, it passes, I don't know if people have used curl before. It's a command line tool for sending data, basically. For doing HTTP, actually doing FTP and some other protocols too, I think. But basically this is just, sending my email and password, and to the login to get the token back, and then it stashes it away on disk in this gdata all file right here. And oh yeah, right. Yeah, somebody should take a picture of that. Actually, you have it on video, so you can like zoom in later.
Yeah.
Trying.
But okay, so I got I'm going to skip over the authentication part because it's not really that interesting. But the interesting part is, so I guess I could go there right now and see. I'm going to go to the Google Base homepage and go to my account, hopefully. I can see I don't really have anything in there right now. It's kind of like a Dropbox, you know, you can drop stuff off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, so let's look at the post entry. What it does is it calls curl, sends a header, so it sends the content type. I'm going to post some Atom XML, and here's my key, you know, it's a Google authorization, whatnot. And then the URL is that's that collection URL that we saw in the service document. So, you know, they've got a collection called feeds items, and then the data here is the file that I'm going to pass over. And really, the file I'm going to send over looks like this. It's basically, you know, an XML file, and it's an Atom entry. So that's the thing that kind of distinguishes Atom a little bit from RSS. You can send an entry that's not part of the feed. You can just send it, you know, an Atom, basically. This is just some Google stuff. So the nice thing about Atom is you can slap any kind of namespace in there you want. They've defined their own kind of metadata terms for articles. So they've got this idea of a reference article store at Google Base, so you can send over references to articles. I don't know. So really, I'm just going to send that. So post entry, and then I give it the name of the file that I'm going to send. And I hope it works. So you can see I'm kind of doing a verbose output here, so you can see the kind of requests that are going on. That's probably not viewable at all. Is that any better? Probably not. So you can see my request going over to Google for the content type and authorization and all that stuff. And then the content, the file that I'm actually sending. And then you can see the response coming back. You know, 201 created. That's the thing that you're supposed to get back when you create something. And then the thing is, it sends you back, as the body of the response, it sends you back the resource that was created. So hopefully we can go over here and just reload this page, and we'll see, you know, our little thing that we created. So now, you know, I've got very little time, but basically I've got like a delete, you know, or an update. Actually, let me show you. So put 3 minutes. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I thought I wasn't going to have enough time, or I thought I was going to have too little content, and it was the exact opposite. But I apologize. But basically, you know, I got a curl command to put, so I can put an update. So let's say I go to that article, and actually, I forget what the URL was for. Yeah, actually, you can do it. So if I hit the, if I do a get to the collection, I'll get a list of all the entries in the collection. So it's just a feed, you know, for all the entries. Kind of like an OAI response, like when you do list records, you get back like a list of records. It's the same kind of thing. But you know, in this case, I can see my URL for the thing that was created is right here, and so I can update it if I do a. So let's say I just go in here and change like instantoms to instant toms. Oh, that's good enough. that work. Yeah. So, and then I can delete it.
Yeah.
I get rid of it. All right, so yeah, that's it. I was going to demo like how easy it is to create an Atom server, because really, you know, if you have PHP or I have a Python implementation I can show you if you're interested. But you know, it's just a page of code. You know, I was going to invoke Tom Hickey because you know last year he came up with his T-shirt on and with a bit of code on there that showed how you can do a lot of stuff in a small space. And so I can show that to you if you want. But basically, if you're doing web programming already, you can implement Atom Publishing Protocol Server very easily, and it's really can help interoperability on the web. You might want to consider it if you're doing this kind of interaction. You know, building like what Emily was talking about with her web service APIs. If you're building web service APIs, you might want to look at it and just see if there's some parallels, and it kind of makes you kind of step back and look at URLs and resources in a different way. So I think it's valuable.
Can we take some questions?
Yeah, if there's any questions.
Bess, do you want to come? Or there?
Oh, yeah.
Do we know if the solar folks are looking at this?
Yeah, Eric is always hounding me. He's like, you got to build this, an Atom implementation into a Flare. Is it Flare?